A crisis is quietly unfolding, and on restaurant menus across the United States. It's a crisis that strikes at the heart of a beloved American staple, tuna. The government of Japan, a global titan in the seafood industry, has just imposed a staggering 300% tariff on all tuna products exported to the United States. This isn't a minor trade adjustment, it's a seismic event with the power to reshape the American seafood landscape entirely. The implications are enormous, threatening to triple the price of everything from high-end sushi-grade bluefin to the humble canned tuna sandwich that has been a lunchbox fixture for generations. What we are witnessing is the opening salvo in a trade dispute that puts American consumers, fishermen, and businesses directly in the crosshairs. The stakes could not be higher. To understand the gravity of this tariff, one must first appreciate the unique and enduring role tuna plays in American life. It is one of the nation's most consumed and cherished seafoods. For over a century, canned tuna has been a cornerstone of the American pantry. It rose to prominence during wartime as a high-protein, non-perishable food, then surged in the post-war decades. The simple tuna salad sandwich became an icon of the American lunch. It represents convenience, affordability, and comfort across American society. But our appetite for tuna is a tale of two markets. Beginning in the 1980s, the sushi revolution created soaring demand for high-grade raw tuna. Bluefin, yellowfin, big eye, stars of sushi bars and culinary artistry. We consume millions of pounds of canned tuna and covet the most expensive cuts for our finest restaurants. The U.S. is one of the largest importers of tuna, relying on a global supply chain. This dependence is precisely what makes the current tariff deeply unsettling. The decision by Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries to impose a 300% tariff was not made in a vacuum. It is the culmination of years of simmering trade tensions and escalating disputes over fishing rights. Environmental regulations and resource concerns have been central to the conflict. Tokyo frames the tariff as a direct retaliatory measure against recent U.S. legislation. Specifically, the American Fisheries Protection Act of 2025. That law imposed strict quotas in our exclusive economic zones and hefty fines for non-compliance. Japanese associations said it targeted their fleets and jeopardized long-standing operations. Japan called the measures discriminatory and punitive, threatening the viability of their industry. By targeting tuna, Japan struck at a point of maximum leverage, a high-stakes game of economic chicken. The U.S. law grew from lobbying by American fishing communities, especially in California and Hawaii. Proponents pointed to declining stocks and unsustainable practices. Critics warned of provoking this trade war. The impact of the 300% tariff was immediate and brutal. Within days, wholesale prices for Japanese tuna skyrocketed. The shock ran through the supply chain. Distributors with shipments in transit were suddenly faced with tax bills that tripled costs overnight. Many refused shipments, leaving tons of premium fish in cold storage limbo. For those who paid to fulfill contracts, the losses were catastrophic. The system that relied on predictable flows ground to a halt. Market certainty vanished in an instant. Sushi restaurants began posting notices and changing menus. A spicy tuna roll once $8 listed at $20. Bluefin sashimi leaped from $30 to $90. The canned market, our source of inexpensive protein, was threatened. Wholesalers scrambled to secure alternatives, driving prices across the board. To grasp the full scope, we must listen to the people on the front lines. Small businesses and workers are already feeling the immediate impact. Dr. Marina Vance, a fisheries economist at Scripps, calls this the most aggressive trade weaponization of a food commodity we've seen in the 21st century. Japan chose tuna precisely because of America's deep reliance. They know it hits us on two fronts: our high-end culinary market and low-cost food security. It's a surgically precise economic strike with immense collateral damage. Kenji Tanaka, owner of a family-run sushi restaurant in Los Angeles, faces an impossible choice. My father built this restaurant on the quality of his tuna. Now I cannot afford the fish that is the soul of my menu. Maria Sanchez of the American Tuna Boat Association said, "We fought for a level playing field, not a trade war. Everyone is scrambling. Prices are volatile and supply chains in knots. Processors, distributors, and retailers face a bottleneck that hurts us all." With economic consequences mounting, all eyes are now on Washington, D.C. The White House and Congress are under immense pressure from consumer groups and the restaurant lobby. The U.S. Trade Representative requested emergency consultations at the World Trade Organization. The preferred path? high-level diplomacy to de-escalate with concessions from both sides. One option is amending the American Fisheries Protection Act in exchange for Japan lifting the tariff. Business leaders prefer that as the quickest route to stability. If diplomacy fails, the US could retaliate, targeting automobiles, electronics, wagyu, sake, but that risks a wider trade war. That outcome would bring economic pain to both countries and higher prices for American consumers. A third option is to reduce dependence on Japanese tuna, invest in aquaculture and subsidize US fishermen, fund R&D for sustainable tuna farming and fast-track deals with other producers, a long-term but slow solution. These paths take time, diplomacy is fast, industry shifts are slow. In the meantime, consumers and businesses bear the cost. This dispute does not happen in a bubble. Its shockwaves radiate worldwide. With the US priced out, high-quality Japanese tuna is being diverted to other markets. Consumers in the EU, China, and the Middle East may briefly benefit as supply floods their markets. But wholesale oversupply there drives local prices down and wrecks exporters' business models. US buyers now bid up supply from Indonesia, the Philippines, Ecuador, and Spain, raising prices worldwide. Indonesia, the Philippines, Ecuador, Spain, all feel the pressure as demand surges. This boom risks overfishing and unsustainable practices as suppliers chase sudden demand. It undermines regional fisheries organizations and the cooperative framework needed for conservation. Short-term politics may inflict long-term damage on shared tuna stocks, a tragedy of the commons. Markets scramble for solutions, but coordination is fragile and slow. Ultimately, the burden falls squarely on the American consumer. We face new choices at the grocery aisle and at restaurants. Families who relied on canned tuna will see costs double or triple. They'll seek cheaper alternatives or simply eat less tuna. Casual sushi lunches may vanish as basic tuna rolls spike in price. Otoro and chutoro become rare, reserved for the wealthiest patrons. Consumers may turn to salmon, yellowtail, shrimp, or other cuisines, changing food trends. Do you pay the new prices or boycott tuna and risk hurting restaurants and workers? Some will seek domestic labels to support local fishermen, but US supply cannot meet demand quickly. Buying a can of tuna is now an economic and political calculation. Decisions in foreign capitals now reach into our shopping carts and onto our dinner plates. As we look toward the horizon, the future for American seafood looks turbulent and uncertain. The path forward will be defined by choices in weeks and months ahead. Best case, skilled negotiation and a compromise that addresses fishermen's concerns and lifts the tariff. That would restore supply chains and calm prices. Long-term, invest in aquaculture, fund R&D, and bolster domestic fishing to reduce dependence. This may spur a turn to locally sourced seafood and diversified diets. Out of this disruption could emerge a more resilient and diversified American seafood industry. The final outcome remains unwritten. The next moves in diplomacy, policy, and markets will decide.